Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Chelsea Premier League preview. Joining me is my good friend Joe Smith. You good?
I'm very well, thank you.
This preview is brought to you by BetMate, the fantasy. What are you doing?
Let me stop you there, Jay.
Go on.
Last week against Newcastle, the other day, I, for BetMate, finished number one in the pot and won 250 quid.
He did. And I'm both proud and disgusted by, which that actually does go to show. It is possible. If he can win money, then I think we all can. I actually did win some money, not quite 250 quid, but we both won money.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, so we'll get into the BetMate app, excuse me, a little bit later on. We'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, Manchester United's travel to Stamford Bridge, which for me personally has been a horrible hunting ground. I watched us get knocked out of both cups there in the same season once, and I've not been back since. But Manchester United are going there. Is Cristiano Ronaldo going there though? Because there's been a bit of drama with old Ronnie Boy, hasn't there? With him storming off, shall we say, towards the end of the Spurs game. At the time of recording this, it's still not been dealt with. The smart money would say that Eriksen is going to punish him in some way. And also, if we're being brutally honest, can probably get away with not using him. Yeah. We'll get to your predicted 11 a little bit later on. But just in terms of Ronaldo, how do you expect Eriksen to handle it when it comes to this game? Do you think he might just drop him?
Yeah, he might do. And it wouldn't really be that detrimental if he did. He didn't play against Tottenham. We didn't need him against Tottenham. And I hate to say this, honestly, I can't think of a game this season, except maybe the game against Sheriff, where Ronaldo has even remotely improved Man United. And again, like I said, he's one of my favourite players of all time. Yeah, we say this every week at the minute. Let's just talk about who Cristiano Ronaldo is now. He's a player that doesn't get involved in the game very often. He's missing chances. It's not like he's particularly clinical either, because he's going through such a rough patch of form. He's poor in front of goal. He's missing easy chances like he did against Ammonia away. He missed multiple sort of stone wall perfect chances. And he's not bringing anything to the game. He's not better than Rashford. He's not playing better than Anthony. Even Sancho, who's struggling, is more productive, better on the ball, gets on the ball more often than Ronaldo does. And if you're going to walk off before the end of the game and apparently leave Old Trafford, not just wait in the dressing room or get some physio, get a massage or something to sort of distract you from the fact that you've not been playing, you just leave everyone after what has been the best performance from not just this season, but for probably 2 or 3 seasons, completely dominating Tottenham, then you don't deserve to be at the next game. If this was anyone else, there would be no question. Imagine if Garnacho fucked off with 5 minutes to go and just drove home. Or, I don't know, who's another, like Harry Maguire. Can you imagine?
Oh, it'd be a meltdown.
It would
an utter meltdown.
He'd be sacked. He'd be by Twitter. He'd be sacked. Do you know what I mean? And just because it's Ronaldo, we go, well, he's always been a bit of a drama queen, or he's always made it about himself, or whatever the phrase that people use to describe someone who is like unfairly a dickhead. Well, he's always been like it, so we've got to get used to it. No, we haven't got to get used to it. If you're leaving and trying to make it about you before the final whistle of the best game Manchester United have had in years and the first real confident, dominant game under a new manager, then you don't deserve to be in the squad for certainly the next week. That is a minimum. And I think that, it remains to be seen what the punishment will be, if there is one, if there were any circumstances that led to this that make it somewhat acceptable. But it didn't seem like it when Ten Hag went, I'll deal with that tomorrow. Because if he'd have gone, no, you know what, something came up, he had to leave, fine. But he didn't. So it's obviously just a choice Ronaldo made. And yeah, he's got to be dropped, surely.
Yeah, I kind of agree with all that, to be honest with you. Like you say, we all love Ronnie, don't we? And he's given me some amazing moments, but there's no excuse for that. Do you know what I mean? I get it, right? He's frustrated. He sees someone like Andy Elanga, who's got, 690 goals less than he has or whatever. And he's like, why is he coming on before me? But you've just got to understand your role in this team now. It's like have you ever seen Moneyball? Yeah. Where he says to David Justice, you'll be an example to the younger players. Do you know what I mean? You'll be sort of like the elder statesman. Ronnie could do that. Yeah. He could be that guy who they all look up to and who just helps Ten Hag out. And when he is brought in, he does his best. And now we've just got this situation that Erik Ten Hag's having to deal with Ronnie again. He's having to deal with him every sort of couple of months. And it's just becoming ridiculous and counterproductive. And I never thought I'd say this, but I just think it'd be better for all concerned if Ronaldo did move on, because I just feel like this isn't going to have a happy ending, and it's just going to be this cycle of he plays for a bit, and then when he gets dropped, sooner or later he spits his dummy out. Then Erik ten Hag's got to deal with him. And I didn't know. I was at the game. I didn't know what had gone on with Ronnie. I didn't notice him going down the tunnel until after I left the ground when I got a text off my dad. And I just think, it's just a distraction we don't need. It was an amazing night, a great performance, a big result. The atmosphere was mint, and instead we're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo throwing his toys out the pram. Yeah. It's just not good enough.
And also on that thing of you've seen Elanga come on, who's got 690.
I mean,
goals
that's
but also we didn't need to score goals.
No.
We needed someone who would track back and work hard for the team, and Elanga does that.
Yeah.
He's not a great goal scorer, and Ronaldo is, but we didn't need a goal scorer. We were already 2-0 up.
Yeah,
we need to hold on to that. Point. We don't need to score more.
It'd been a different case if he'd brought on. We need a goal and bring on Elanga.
1-1,
and you go, well, hang on a minute. Why is he coming on when I've literally scored, sort of 700 times the goals he scored or whatever?
Yeah.
350 times, whatever. It didn't make any sense. No. But you're right, I agree with it. And, but there's so many games as well. I think 4 games in 9 days. He played against Newcastle 70 minutes. He could have kept his, his mouth shut and be featuring against Chelsea.
It shows how many games there are and how much opportunity he has to play. Because in my head, it was only about 10 days ago we got battered by City, and that wasn't even in our last 5 games, look.
No, so what I mean.
The games are coming so quickly that, get your head down, try hard. You'll be playing 60 minutes and 90 minutes next week anyway.
Very, very strange and silly. From one extreme to the other, David De Gea, a player who's not been perfect over the last, certainly not over the last 4 years, whatever it's been since the 2018 World Cup, had a better season last season than he has previous seasons, post the 2018 World Cup, I hasten to add. This season he's been all right. I think he's done a lot better. At Spurs was one of his better games, really.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of keeping a clean sheet and that save which led to the goal, the second goal. I think he would have been offside anyway, but we were able to play the advantage because David De Gea made the save, I think, on Harry Kane. It was a good game. Also, his passing seemed a lot more. He seemed to come out of his, out of his 6-yard box a little bit more. Got involved in the passes. He played 17 passes, I think, in total. Most of them, or just under half of them, sorry, to Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
So a bit of a connection there. He was receiving the ball quite a lot from Lisandro Martinez, and he seemed to sort of be a bit more proactive in terms of his distribution. Where do you stand on David De Gea? Do you think there is still sort of a chance that he could become Ten Hag's guy? I know it's only, 1 game, but he did do well, and he did do well on the side of distribution and stuff.
I think there's a chance that he could become a competent member of a good team that maybe wins a trophy. I think that's possible, definitely. He's been that before. There's no reason he couldn't do that again. And if we're just focusing on the positives, which I'm quite happy to, and I've said my piece about the long-term future of David De Gea and all that, but he looks a lot better, and he looks like someone who is trying to improve, which is really good to see. Against Everton, his passing was much better. His first time passing as well in that game. Again, against Newcastle, less options on the ball because of Newcastle pressing up a bit, so he tended to go a bit longer. But again, against Everton, lovely clip passes out to Luke Shaw to sort of alleviate pressure. Not really having many saves to make. I think Newcastle had, 3 shots on target, something like that. Maybe slightly more, but not many. And Tottenham had 2 shots on target. So it's a good time for him in terms of stopping shots and clean sheets because he don't have to do much at the moment. And I think that allows him to focus on his passing, takes the pressure off a little bit. He's not this frantic David De Gea that we've seen in recent seasons. And he looks much better. So, yeah, I think if he keeps playing like he is now, I don't think there's any reason to change anything around, certainly till the end of the season, when obviously we've got a big decision to make about his contract. But this is better, and I wanted him to improve, and I'm glad he's able to. And, he's still not the best passer of the ball in the world, and he never will because that's not his style. But it's good that he's better than he was, and he's trying more things than he was, and looks more comfortable. Great.
Yeah, no matter where you stand on David De Gea's form or his ability or whatever, there's a likability to David De Gea. He just gets on with it. I think me and you've spoken about this in the past. You talk about Ronaldo being a problem. David De Gea's, he's never... I know he wanted to leave at one point, but he's never been a problem. He's never spat his dummy out. He just gets on with it, and he's also very quick to hold his hands up if he does make a mistake. Let's move on to predicted 11s then. With all that being said, who do you think Erik ten Hag, the greatest manager in the Premier League, will pick for the trip to Stamford Bridge, which is in Fulham?
Ten Hag has almost ruined this feature of the preview, hasn't he?
He's just spoiling it, isn't he?
Because again, last week I think we had the same team. This week, if he just shows Jay's team, get it once that's ready. One change, because basically the team picks itself at the minute. That back 5 set. Luke Shaw was sensational against Tottenham.
Sensational.
Like, he was an outlet for everyone in the defence. He made the most passes of anyone. He was brilliant going forward. He held his line well, held position well. He was a threat on goal at the back post. Like, he was brilliant. So he's not going anywhere. The rest of the back four picks itself. Casemiro stays. The only question, I've got, you've gone Fred there, and I've got Eriksen. That for me is the only question. Ronaldo, I don't think he's good enough to start, and he certainly shouldn't be after what we saw the other day.
You can't reward that petulance.
No, Martial isn't fit seemingly, or certainly not fit to start, I don't think, if he's not even fit enough to be on the bench. So 9 or 10 of that 11 picks itself at this point, and I love that. Yeah. I mean, it makes this section of the preview shorter, but I think you can't really argue any of those players. Anthony looks great. Sancho's the only one where you go, he's not quite driving and doing as much as the other two up front, but who are you going to play instead of him?
You know what it feels like?
What?
It feels like the 93-94 season.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Where you had just the same 11 almost every week.
I was doing a hell of a lot of breastfeeding that season.
Exactly.
Which was
You
great
remember it well.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. And it's good. And the thing with Ten Hag, his message to the players, like you mentioned now, is, you know, it's simple. You play well, you keep your place. It's not, well, you played well, but I've got a favourite. I'm going to bring him in. And Luke Shaw said that, didn't he? He said, I know under this manager, if you play badly, you get dropped. You played well, you're in the team. And Luke Shaw will know that if he plays badly against Chelsea, he'll probably be dropped.
Yeah.
Again, and rightly so.
He's perfect proof of that. Because he started the season shocking. Malacia came in. Then Malacia's form dropped. Shaw came back in.
Yep.
Shaw's been brilliant since.
We do have one difference. You've dropped the greatest Brazilian midfielder ever in Fred Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think that Eriksen is better.
I agree. On the whole, Eriksen is a better footballer. But Fred's just dropped probably a 8 or 9 out of 10.
He has, but he dropped to 3 or 4 out of 10 against Newcastle. So if we add them together, divide it by 2...
Would you not go with the most recent performance was very, very good?
Yeah, but the game against Newcastle was 4 days ago.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that, like, his recent form is
not his recent form, but if he's just been arguably man of the match or a contender for man of the match, why do you think Erik ten Hag is going to go, no?
Because, I'll tell you why. Because I think that Tottenham sitting back all game, like they did for most of the game, suits Fred. Yeah. He can win the ball high up. He can be as irritating, oppressive, physical player that he is when he's at his best. With very little risk, because he doesn't have to expand play, he doesn't have to turn on the ball, he doesn't have to get pressed from behind. He can basically be a little buzzing wasp, win the ball back, pass it to Casemiro and take it from there. Against a team like Chelsea or against Newcastle, where he's going to win the ball more often on his own in his own half, on the halfway line, in those sorts of areas, because the other team are pressing up higher, he has less time on the ball. We aren't just dominating possession or dominating the chances the way we did against Tottenham. I think that he's more likely to be exposed, whereas Eriksen is better at being on the ball deeper in the pitch and better against teams that press high, and I think Chelsea are more likely to do that than Tottenham did. So I just don't think it's a sort of game that will suit Fred's style.
You don't think it's a sort of game that suits Fred's style? I think Erik ten Hag is going to stick with him. What do you lot think in the comments? Get involved and let us know whether you think Fred's going to come in, whether Eriksen's going to come in, or whether you think there's going to be possibilities for both of them. Who knows what could happen? Moving on to the opposition and BetMate. Talking of Fred, Fred got 11 points last week. Did you have him in your team for BetMate?
Didn't need him.
You didn't?
No.
So you finished top of the leaderboard, won yourself £250, and you didn't even have Pastor Fred in your team.
Honestly, couldn't believe it. I was watching the game.
Yeah.
I'd set my team up a couple of days before, and then all of a sudden, the room is abuzz.
Yeah.
Joe, have you seen what's happened on BetMate?
Yeah.
I know what's happened. You finished top. You've won £250.
£250.
Honestly, I could not believe it. I was absolutely stunned. For those of you who don't know, BetMate is a fantasy football app where you pick your best 7 players each week. We pick 11 technically, 7 starters and 4 subs. And if they get points, you get pounds. It's very simple, isn't it, Jay?
We have a Paddock code. Is it Paddock 5, I think the code is. There's a link in the description, so go and check that out. Should we have a look at our teams that we've done this week for BetMate? We'll start with yours, Joe, if you can talk us through the players you've picked and why.
The reigning champ, sure.
Yes.
Sure. I've gone with De Gea because I think United will win, unlike you, obviously. That's where you got let down, putting Lloris in.
I said United would win, but Lloris would score for Spurs. So that's not
you
United
were half
losing.
right.
Yeah, thank you.
Cancel it out. Neutral. Luke Shaw again. I think he's playing in this high position. I think he's likely to get chances and shots and maybe even score. I put Martinez in as well because he's just defensively an absolute rock, isn't he? Then I've gone Fernandes, vice captain. He's always up for a goal, but he's not prolific this season. So I think vice captain. Mason Mount again. He's pulled them out of the shit a couple of times this season. So if anyone's going to be a big threat for them, it might be him. Then I've gone with Anthony and then Rashford as captain. He's missed so many chances in the last 10 days, Marcus Rashford. He can't miss again. He has to score this weekend, and he loves scoring against Chelsea.
Does have to score sooner or later, doesn't he? I thought he played well against Spurs. I thought he was a bit unlucky because I felt that, especially his left-footed one where Lloris sort of stuck his hand up. Yeah. That was a very good shot, I should say. But
presumably, you've gone for 5 or 6 Chelsea players like you did with Tottenham.
I've never done that in my life. My bench warmers were Spurs because I ran out of options. You go to my team. There you go. You see, it's red. Like Manchester, Rashford is red.
He's seen the winning formula.
I've gone with De Gea, Martinez, Shaw. I've got Bruno Fernandes as my captain. I've gone Casemiro as my vice captain. I fancy him to do something spectacular. I've gone Marcus Rashford, and I've gone with Aubameyang.
Pierre-Emerick
Aubameyang, because I've got to stick one Chelsea player in there, and unlike you, who just loves Tories like Mason Mount, I've gone with Aubameyang.
Well, if you think you can beat my team this week, I mean, Jay, not even worth trying, but if you at home think you can, join our pot. Use the code Paddock5 to get a £5 in free bets on sign-up when you join any paid pot. Download the BetMate app. Link is in the description. Go and check them out now.
Why were you so dismissive of my chances?
Well, because have you ever finished top?
No, but I have won money. I've been winning money almost every week.
So therefore, I am the authority.
In fact, if you look at how many times I've won money more often than you have.
More often?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, do you know how that is, Jay? Because you go to the roulette table and go, put a quid on every number.
Yeah.
I don't. I get it right.
That's not true. I put a quid on 39 numbers.
If you bet on red and black, you can't lose.
Well, you can come up green.
Angry.
0 is so you're wrong.
You're a 0, mate.
Yeah. So what you're talking about? You don't even know what you're on about.
If anyone is.
Hey, you ribbing me. You don't even know what you're on about. I've not put Raheem Sterling in my team. I put him on the bench. Raheem Sterling. He's played for 2 clubs I absolutely hate. Well, 3 actually, because I don't really like Chelsea. But Liverpool and City.
Yeah.
I think Sterling's Chelsea's top scorer this season. Do you fancy him to do any bits?
He's not typically had a good game against United, has he? But that was when Wan-Bissaka was in absolute lockdown mode.
Yep.
And it became increasingly apparent that Sterling just didn't fancy his chances against him. I wonder if it'll be different against Dalot, because if there's one thing he's slightly weak against, it is tricky sort of one-on-one wingers, which Sterling can be at times. So I think he's definitely one to look out for. But just from the City days, I always think we'll fix him up.
Big United fan, isn't he?
Apparently.
Yeah, he knows. Do you remember the 3-2 at the Etihad where Paul Lake lost his mind? They can't handle him. False 9. And he just kept missing all those chances. I loved all that. Even though they did win the league a week later, it stopped them getting the fireworks out. And that's where we're at the minute at Manchester United. With all that being said, my friend,
great question.
Give us your score prediction.
I think United are the only team to have beaten 3 of last season's top 6 already this season. Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham.
It sounds about right. And we won the second half against City, which is a thing.
Yeah, so 3.5 wins out of 4.
Yeah.
But it's always tough there. We can't just win every game against the top 6. So I think for the first time this season, I'm going to go for a draw. I'm going to go 1-1.
Really?
Yeah.
You disgust me. Where's the faith? Call yourself a United fan. Typical YouTuber. Oh, I don't think we'll win. You don't hear me doing that. No, United will win 3-0. There you go.
What? Against Brentford?
I was kind to United.
What did you say the score was?
I said it'd be 3-0 to Brentford.
So,
and I was kind because it was 4-0. Yeah? But we've turned the corner, Joe.
Oh, wait.
We're no longer that team that gets battered off the likes of Brentford and City. We're now better. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah? Ever since the Newcastle draw, we've kicked on. Right?
1 game ago.
So I'm going for my boys to absolutely destroy them. Absolute. Who supports Chelsea? Who's a famous Chelsea fan?
Fucking Rory.
Oh, yeah, Rory Jennings. Yeah, to destroy those Rory Jennings lot. Yeah, I'll go 3-0. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think the score will be. Let us know about your BetMate team as well and anything else about the predicted 11, all that jazz. We want to hear from you guys. Don't forget as well, if you want to send us your score prediction, film yourself in landscape like that and send it to paddockmatchday@gmail.com. About 30 seconds, literally. Here's what I think the score will be today. Here's who I think is going to score. Come on, United. All that
also,
jazz.
Landscape just means your phone this way. It doesn't mean you outside on the moors.
Yeah.
You know.
Doesn't mean like, you know, you're making a constable painting or something.
No, exactly.
Hey? Do you know what I mean? What are you looking out for?
It's lovely, that.
Thank you.
Really nice.
Hey. Yeah, so we want to see and hear from you. So get involved and we'll use your score predictions before the pre-match watch-along, or before the watch-along, I should say. Also, film it. Some of you emailed in your score predictions, just written, right? Which is nice.
It is nice.
Thanks.
Don't be nasty.
But I'm not being nasty. I'm not being patronising. I'm just telling them it was pretty much a waste of their time.
If anyone's going to be patronising, Jay, it's me, because I finished first on the BetMate this week.
Yeah.
Send a video of your score predictions to paddockmatchday@gmail.com to be featured on the watch-along. Thank you very much for joining us. This has been the preview for Chelsea versus Manchester United. Thank you, Jay.
Chelsea, you're going to hear that nonsense, aren't we, the weekend?
See you in a bit.